Hi, this is Josh Marshall, and this is the Josh Marshall Podcast. We have a special episode of the Josh Marshall Podcast because about 2 hours ago, a little more than 2 hours ago, maybe 2.5 hours ago, we had news that Donald Trump had been indicted in Manhattan for, we think, uh, things related to the Stormy Daniels hush money case. I think that's pretty clear that that is at least part of what he has been indicted for. We don't know if it might go beyond that. Remember, the that office has a pretty broad-ranging investigation into the Trump organization. There have been press reports in the last 36, 48 hours that the attorneys in that office, prosecutors in that office, have been applying more pressure to Alan Weisselberg, the former CFO of the Trump organization. So we don't know exactly what these indictments are. They are probably either the Stormy Daniels hush money case or, for lack of a better phrase, Stormy Plus. We can put it that way. But we do know, at least according to the reporting we have seen, that they're felonies or one felony. It's not a misdemeanor indictment. So we are going to have a quick discussion, try to bring you up to date on what has been reported so far, what it looks like to us, and just to review, because we're hoping to have this up this evening. Uh, there's no question that former President Trump has been indicted. His defense attorneys have confirmed that. He has discussed it online, so it has happened. And again, it's the indictment is currently under seal, so we don't know the precise details of what the charges are, what they relate to. There are reports that he will surrender in Manhattan sometime next week, and that's about what we know. So let me introduce my co-host, Kate Riga. What do you think?
Oh my god. So every part of this was crazy, right? Like, I was up on the Hill today, spent my day there, got home, was ready to, type up my story and file it. And then about 2 hours after every member of Congress, like, fled the building for a 2-week recess, boom, here it comes, which is gonna be pretty convenient for some members. But the thing that kind of, struck me upon these immediate reactions is that there is basically no equivocating among Republicans, basically no, like, we should withhold our judgment until we see the details of the indictment, rule of law. No, I mean, across the board, it's been Bragg is doing this for political purposes. This is disgusting. This is like a contorted version of justice. And that goes from Republicans like, usual suspects like Jim Jordan and Marjorie Taylor Greene to, I guess, also usual suspect Kevin McCarthy to, the adult in the room Republicans like Chuck Grassley. That is the statement that is coming out from everyone is just versions of this is a political witch hunt and is egregious and is a sign that our judiciary is withering on the vine.
Yeah, I think the only, and I didn't even see I didn't read the entire statement. The only statement I think that I have seen from a Republican over these last couple hours, I believe, is from Asa Hutchinson, the former
Yep.
governor of Arkansas,
Mhm.
who I think gave, again, I didn't, things have been moving pretty fast over the last couple hours. I wasn't able to read the entire statement, but seemed to be a statement of like, this is very serious. You don't do it lightly. I'm concerned. We've got to wait and see the facts, sort of old school,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
How you're supposed to react before you have any idea what's going on. And to your point, it has been very striking that we don't, I mean, maybe Alvin Bragg is going to come out and it turns out that Donald Trump has been, you know, r- robbing banks over the last few months up and down the state of New York. And there's videotape and all this, and that's we have no idea what the charges are. So it is impossible for us to know or to say preemptively that it's a total outrage. And we don't even know what he's been indicted for. But I think what you see, the other thing that caught my attention is Glenn Youngkin,
Oh,
the
yeah.
incumbent governor of Virginia, was out with, again, that sort of it's almost a script.
Mhm.
It's an outrageous perversion of justice, and we're a third world country, and blah 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 blah. And he said exactly that thing. And I think what we know is that is the when you go to the museum and they have a suggested donation, right? Of course, you got to give the donation. The suggested donation of $10. The suggested donation to Donald Trump is that statement. If you don't give that statement, you are in trouble. You're looked at with suspicion. And I think we saw this happen a week ago with Ron DeSantis, where he kind of said, "Yeah, it's not great," and George Soros, but like, I doing it with a porn star is not in my wheelhouse. And everybody's like, "Oh, portraying the big
And
man."
right, and now DeSantis is back tonight reading from the script, making the
Yeah.
suggested donation and saying, the state of Florida will not help in any extradition requests, if it should come to that. So someone was pretty thoroughly, smacked around for what he said last time for that like mealy mouthed attempt to kind of, have it both ways. And so he is now firmly back in lockstep with the Trump adulation movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really shows that, as much as it is probably true that there are a lot of Republicans who would really like it if Donald Trump would leave the political scene, in their secret, double secret heart of hearts, they would like to see it. And they may, say some things about January 6th, but this is where you really see the rubber meeting the road. Are you willing to say, hey, it's this is a new thing. This is very serious, indicting a president, but we got to wait to see no. If you want to be like, unless you want to be persona non grata in the Republican Party, you've got to say the witch hunt. Let's get what are the key points? Witch hunt, Soros, tearing the country apart, and I can't even remember
Maybe like you're
third world
next.
country.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Banana
third world
Republic.
country,
Sure, sure.
banana republic. Yeah, and that's where we are. And I do suspect, if things go kind of as planned, and maybe he surrenders on Tuesday or something like that, I suspect we're going to know a little more about what these charges are before then, because I think they I'm sure they gotta, they don't have to, they I think they tell him,
Mhm.
he's got to know what he's pleading to. So he's going to know, and he'll probably say or something like that.
Yeah,
So we'll know
exactly.
before then.
Totally. I mean, as soon as this document's in the Trump camp, I feel like the leak is, T minus 30 seconds away, essentially. Um, and, so the other piece of this is obviously when Trump raised this for the first time a couple weeks ago, said, I'm going to be arrested on Tuesday. The point was to rally the supporters, right? To get people out on the streets. So that's a thing that we at TPM have been kind of observing all the various Trump wingnutty channels to see if they're putting out the call. You had like Seb Gorka go on Steve Bannon's show and call for people to quote peacefully protest. But there really hasn't been much of that at all. And trust me, I subjected myself to like 20 minutes of a coked out Donald Jr.'s, I'm sorry, hypothetically coked out, Donald Jr.'s live podcast where he did like a little,
Allegedly, according to many people,
exactly.
coked
And
out,
we're not
but we don't know.
speculating and we
Yes,
can't
we're just
confirm.
speculating. We cannot
Um,
confirm this.
And, he did a little section where he was like, "This makes Pol Pot look like a blah, blah, blah," and said, "You're next, Republicans, if you don't stand up against this." But then pretty quickly moved right along to the other, quote unquote news of the day, like, pronoun use. So it is kind of interesting because it ties into this greater tapestry of Trump lacking juice that he used to have, that when this happened, even like the most MTG of them are not calling for people to hit the streets, right?
Yeah, the other thing, and here's something I wonder about. There were those 2 or 3 days when each day it was the next day,
Mhm.
right? And then it was delayed a week. And then yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, perhaps the day before that, there were reports that seemed to be pretty, multiply confirmed that in fact the grand jury's off for a month.
Mhm.
They're on hiatus, they're working another case or something like that. So even not just it's not tomorrow, it's not even in April. And again, I think that was yesterday. So I don't know if that was like some sort of misdirection or bad reporting, although I think it was either the Times or Politico with like multiple sources and stuff like that, or if something changed, right? Because it did sort of like wrong foot everybody that we certainly did. I don't get the sense that any news organizations had kind of any kind of advance word. It just sort of dropped out of the middle of nowhere. And I was scheduled to talk about the Dominion lawsuit on Ari Melber's show
How
today.
cute.
Yeah, exactly, in the A block, and I log in, doing it remote, log in 10 minutes early, and I'm going through Twitter, and I see a tweet that says, I wonder how Fox is going to spin this indictment, and there's like a kind of a screen capture, Trump indicted, and I'm like, wait, is that like, is this a hoax? Is it like, is that really happened? So I figured out it happened. Um, so everybody's caught off guard, and I think Trump was too, because he was clearly, looking for the buildup, and he everybody's caught off guard, and I'm very curious to find out again, was that misdirection? They just wanted to kind of stop the the people waiting outside the courtroom kind of thing, or was there a misunderstanding, or did something happen? And again, we don't know. My best guess here is that this is some permutation of the Stormy Daniels hush money case, but there have been these other witnesses that have been, a few other witnesses. They had David Pecker, the former chief of the National Enquirer. And then yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, and I don't remember which news organization, there were a couple stories saying they're raising the heat on Alan Weisselberg. And this may end up being very significant. Another report saying he doesn't have the same lawyer anymore. He doesn't have the lawyer that the Trump organization was paying for. He's got someone else now. Now, that if you're Trump, that's a big warning flag. Or maybe it's a warning flag that you already know something about. Because although I think he did this with Michael Cohen, that like that guy's taking the heat for you. He's over in Rikers, which is a really bad jail to spend time in, and he's like some guy in his 70s or something like that. You want to pay that guy's legal expenses, but it seems like he switched lawyers and he's no longer being represented by someone being paid for by Trump. Now, we don't know if he has flipped on Donald Trump, but that's the kind of change you would expect if he had. So it's possible that things happened over the last 48 hours that really did change things. That this wasn't just a matter of that, like, we didn't have the day right, or someone or someone in the DA's office was kind of, punking everybody and saying it was going to be a month. Things may have changed.
Yeah. So just I think the other piece of this to mention is that kind of throughout the Biden administration has been pretty careful to keep the president uh, at a remove from this whole situation, and I think it serves dual purposes. You don't want kind of the appearance of impropriety, right? Of him kind of weighing in any way. And then also I think it serves the political purpose of you have Trump, drowning in this legal morass while Biden is like barnstorming to talk about, the infrastructure bill
Insulin
and whatnot.
prices. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that continued tonight. I reached out to the White House, and they declined to comment. So that posture has also continued in the background while we're looking at this story through the lens of 2024 as much as anything else.
And it's an important point, and it is appropriate. I mean, it's the White House's self-interest, as you say, is very clear cut.
Mhm.
But it's also important, it's appropriate because this is a crime that Donald Trump committed. He hasn't been convicted of it. It's a crime that Donald Trump committed back in 2016. It is a fairly tawdry and pedestrian crime. It it isn't entitled to the president of the United States letting us know what he thinks. It's
Totally.
beneath him. It's not this isn't this isn't a this isn't a policy statement. This is someone who the law is catching up with him. And it is again, it's it's beneath the president of the United States to kind of say to have to say anything.
Mhm.
This is just a kind of a this is a criminal justice matter. People are getting indicted every day, right? It really is beneath him. So in addition to the obvious self-interest of not wanting to get pulled into the the tar pit there with Donald Trump, it's appropriate too.
Mhm. Yeah, and then we've gotten a few reports that as of now, the plan is for Trump to surrender early next week. Um, I think I think we should take all kind of like timing reports with a little bit of a grain of salt at this point in the process. Um, but that's where we are now. Is we're gonna wait until we can see the details of the indictment, see what the counts are, what universe is this kept to, right? Is this just Stormy Daniels? Have all those questions answered. And then, you know, the next steps with the process. We've talked on the show before about part of what made this kind of a poor event to protest, to take to the streets with pitchforks over, is that it's just going to be kind of a series of dry procedural administrative little hearings, and then a long protracted trial and all the rest. So, next is the arraignment. We'll see when that happens. Really, the big drama around that is, will Trump surrender, or will he, do the whole you can take me kicking and screaming thing, which is funny because it's so Trump to at least be talking to people of like, I want the perp walk. I want them to see me. But like, no, he does not. We always know this about Trump. He loves saying those kind of like tough guy stuff. But of course, he doesn't want to be indicted. This is something he's been worried about for years, ever since he started, doing some casual criminality earlier, way pre-presidential run.
I was going to say that's really the issue. It goes long before his political career, and with what he's willing to do, is he going to go like full David Koresh down there and Mar-a-Lago and say, Ron, you got to send down the Florida National Guard to defend me down here. I really suspect, based on what we know about Donald Trump, that he will be simultaneously going on Truth Social and talking about fires in the streets and the terrible destruction and loss of life, while simultaneously obediently going into the courthouse, doing everything by the book. I don't think it has it in that he has it in him to be like, no, come get me. That's not going to happen. I mean, who knows? But like, he wasn't there on January 6th. And we have all
Right.
that stuff, but he tried to like tackle, strangle the guy who's driving and do, maybe, but like if he wanted to be there, he could have gotten there. Right. And he wasn't. So I think that's how, I'm sure that he will try over the next few days to, maybe he'll say, let's have a rally at Mar-a-Lago, kind of create some
Mhm.
drama and all his supporters, and maybe he'll say people show up in New York and all that kind of stuff. But as you say, there's a certain this isn't like January 6th where kind of like there's this one thing, if you stop it then all these other things will happen. You're gonna delay him being arraigned, like, okay, like whatever, we'll do it tomorrow,
Right.
right? And then you've got the pre-trial meetings. Are you gonna kind of storm the truck that's bringing the documents for discovery? It gets pretty procedural and kind of and not low energy, but it's a lot of different fairly undramatic, unexciting things happen before you actually get to a trial, which who knows when that'll be. But I will say this: I do suspect that just because humans are humans, I think this happening has made it has taken away a little of the apprehension that other prosecutors inevitably will have about being the first. Because I think you see it now and you say, like, it's not surprising that he got indicted because he did commit a crime. And, night follows day, right? Day follows night. Indictment follows crime. Not always. A lot of people skate for things, but I think it seems a little less strange now. And, I don't think this will be the last. Any other final thoughts?
Yeah, my final thought is my favorite tweet that I've seen, which also aside, but we're all getting our blue checks yanked in a couple days.
I know.
And this almost is kind of a fitting finale to Twitter, before it like crumbles into parody accounts and just like a useless morass. But my favorite tweet of the night was, while I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, it is chilling to realize that this could happen to any one of us after live tweeting 34 consecutive crimes.
Well, it's funny. One of these politicians who said this kind of, it could be anybody, like it could be any of us who've had sex with Stormy Daniels and then paid her $130,000 not to talk about it to the National Enquirer. Have
Here,
you?
but for
I
the
haven't
grace
had
of
sex with Stormy
God.
Daniels. I'm feeling invulnerable. So whatever. It is what it is, and that is an important thing. Aside from my sort of blue humor about Stormy Daniels, crimes get indicted, and this is someone else has been indicted for this crime, and they've been convicted, and they've served a year in prison for these facts. So it is just not strange that the person who was more directly involved is also facing some kind of criminal accountability. Listen, we're gonna, we just wanted to do a quick episode tonight to catch you up. Thank you for listening in. Depending on how the news unfolds over the next few days, we may do some other kind of spot podcasts, and let us know. If you find these updates helpful, let us know. Shoot us an email at TPM. Let us know what you like. Again, if you find them helpful, if anything else that we can add that would be help us keep you caught up on what's happening. So I think that's about it for now. Kate, any other final thoughts? Is that it?
Nope.
I
Yep,
guess
that's
that's all
it.
we got until next Wednesday, or who knows, maybe until tomorrow. That's all we got, and we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. The Josh Marshall podcast is hosted by me, TPM reporter Kate Riga, and TPM founder, editor-in-chief Josh Marshall. The show is produced by Jackie Wilhelm. Thanks to Why Not Jansfeld for our podcast theme song, and thanks to all our TPM members who make this possible. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and subscribe wherever you listen.